I've been playing with the idea for so long of giving you guys an insight into how I create my cosplays. So what a better way to start off these videos by showing you guys how I'm creating my very first armoured cosplay. From the very beginning of this channel, back to when I used to be called the Fluffy Dragon, I have been obsessed with How to Train Your Dragon. If you haven't guessed from the title and you just happened to click on this video, I'm going to be doing Astrid Stormfly armour from How to Train Your Dragon 3. Firstly, let's break down this costume. At the time of starting this cosplay, I only had the trailers and released posters to go off. I have absolutely no idea what the back of her costume looks like, so I'm going to have to improvise a little. The helmet, braces and shoulder pads are all embellished with Stormfly scales as well as leather. For this, I'm going to have to do a lot of soldering work. The front of the helmet also seems to flip up, however, while I did try to make this happen later on, it just wasn't having it with the design I chose to go with, so a stationary helmet is going to have to do. I'm lucky enough to own a hat making head that is around the same circumference as my own, so I made a pattern for the back piece using lots of glad wrap and duct tape. I then cut these off the head and traced them onto thin foam to ensure the pattern was going to fit. Once I was sure, I then sized it up in relation to 5mm foam and then cut them out. There's also rivets at the bottom of the helmet, so I made some of these out of googly eyes and painted them silver. These are going to be saved for later. Using the same method I used for the back of the helmet, I covered the head again, only this time I drew half of the mask onto the duct tape and transferred it on a fold to make equal halves. I cut out the pattern onto thin foam again for testing, and then added the thicker foam after adjustments. Now we move on to the shoulder pads. I created a simple pattern using a template of my neck and shoulder. You can see the method I used in a video linked in the description below. The same steps to the last two pieces applies. Now, creating curves and attaching pieces requires more than your usual hot glue. Say hello to contact adhesive. This stuff is a maple syrup consistency that can be found at pretty much any hardware store. You apply it to both surfaces you want to attach, leave it for a few minutes to dry, and then stick them together for an almost unbreakable bond. I then painstakingly attached each of the cut-out patterns to each other to create each piece, being sure to keep the seams as flush and clean as possible. For easier application, I bought a litre squeeze bottle from Kmart and poured a quarter of it inside. I also attached a guard foam embellishment to the shoulder pads in this step using hot glue, because I just couldn't bring myself to use it with the contact. I mentioned earlier you would need to solder a lot, and for my younger viewers, this is what you use: a soldering iron. This is one of the cheaper ones I could find from Bunnings, and so far it's doing wonders for me. This one comes with a few different nibs, a metal stand, and has a stylus-like feel to it. This is how I will be able to make textures and indents in the foam for scales and layering effects. I did a small test on a scrap piece of foam. This was then replicated all over the helmet and the shoulder pads. And this step took forever. If you are planning on replicating a design that requires a step that is like this, please make sure that you do it in a well-ventilated area that has fresh air circulating. I had to move to the garage for this step. The next pieces are the braces. I created a quick mock-up pattern with a gap in the middle with a rectangle for my pattern. I made sure this went around my arm cleanly before cutting out with foam. The small gap is made out of thin EVA, whereas the larger piece is made out of the 5mm foam I've been using for the rest of the outfit. I attached the two using hot glue. I created some buckles and straps out of simple shapes of foam and attached them to the gap of the bracer using contact adhesive. I used foam instead of actual straps so that the item would still be light and movable. But I don't want to be redoing straps every time I want to put the costume on. Plus, I think this gives the bracer more of an animated look like the movies. then soldered on a line marking out the layers, and once again, more scales. So many scales. This was followed by small soldering details to make the buckles look like they've been sewn on. And that's where I'm leaving the video for today. The helmet and the braces still both need spikes, but those will be shown in the next video. If you have any questions about what I've shown in today's video, leave a comment, contact me on any of my social media, and I promise I will answer your questions. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you like the content so that you don't miss the next video, and I will see you guys in the next.